Please start, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we'll be starting with the new practical, which is a case study. Now, what is case study is very important to understand. Case study, as the words say, it's about a case. It's an in-depth kind of a study about a particular case that you intend to work upon. Now, case study can be employed into different areas in psychology. For example, in the hospitals, in the schools, in the hospitals, people are hired as, or psychologists are hired on the post of clinical psychologist. In schools, you are hired as school counselors, child psychologist, or special educator as well. Whereas when we talk about industries, when we talk about organizations, psychologists, they are hired as organizational psychologist or industrial psychologist, um, wherein you as or the people as organizational psychologists, they work with employees. They work to see that how the employees are working. Are they satisfied? Are they committed? They should not be having a kind of a stress while working in the organization, because when we work in organizations, there are so many factors that influences our job performance, our commitment towards work, our satisfaction to at the workplace. These are the important factors that can actually put influence on the organization in a positive as well as in the negative way. Now, going on to the organizational case study. What we do is, as clinical psychologists, we work with a particular kind of a case, where we do an in-depth study, where we go into very minute details of the person who has a problem, working in an organization because of one or the other factor. So what happens is, like, for example, an employee is working in an organization, is not performing up to the mark, is not satisfied, is not committed. His performance is decreasing, his productivity the productivity is decreasing to a certain level, where it is hampering not only the individual's efforts or the performance, but also hampering the organizational profits, organizational production at organizational's productivity level, which can actually put a negative effect on the future of employee, future of organization. Now, as a organizational psychologist or as an industrial psychologist, our main emphasis, our main role comes in to help those employees, so that whatever factors is creating an hindrance into their performance, affecting the individual, the employee, as well as the organization. We need to work and help the individual to come out of that particular problem. Now, as per the case study, obviously, when we work with the cases, when we work as an organizational psychologist, looking into an individualistic approach, looking into an individual, we try to do a very in-depth kind of a study. For example, a employee is facing a problem where he's not satisfied because of the personal as well as professional reasons. So as a psychologist, we need to look into that. Why is that problem arised? Is it because of the factors that the employee is working in an organization? Is it because of this particular organization, or is it being since last few years? For example, if the person was working in any other organization, you can take a history, you can take people's viewpoints, employees viewpoints of that organization. You go back again, looking into where the person has been studying up. You go to the university level, you go to the to the college level, or at the school level, to see where the problem is. Sometimes what happens is, our problem is from the childhood, and it increases again, on and on as we grow on, and therefore it affects the individual's performance or individual psychological characteristics when we are into the working profession. So that is how the organizational psychologists work, where you look into such factors, and have the individual by going into the detail. Now when you work with certain people having problems in organizations, or other factors, you talk to the parents, you talk to the colleagues, you talk to the bosses, you talk to the teachers, for example, where he was studying. You talk to everyone whom you could approach to see where the problem was, to see how the problem arised, and to see why those symptoms has been persisting since so many years. Now, in an organizational, you have a case study in as an organizational psychologist, and you would have received one case study, wherein, I'll just read out what the case study is about, so that we can understand what was the problem, and we can understand, what were the symptoms, and how do we work. Now, as an organizational psychologist, before I read through this particular case study, as an organizational psychologist, there can be clinical symptoms, there can be counseling, there can be many other clinical symptoms that has been persisting with the symptoms that is hampering the job of an individual. Now, I'll just read out this case study. It says Miss Preeti recently joined as a software engineer in a company. She was thrilled to get a job in this company. After a few days of her joining, Mr. Raghav also recruited at the equivalent post of Miss Preeti in the same company. She was surprised to find that though Mr. Raghav had less work experience than her, he was getting a higher salary and benefits comparatively. After perceiving that despite of having more expertise, she was being rewarded less than Mr. Raghav, she no more felt like giving her full efforts and dedication to the job. Due to her decrease in commitment, the company had to suffer in its service and productivity. Now, if we look into the case study, it says that Miss Preeti, she was working as an engineer in one of the company, and there came up another person who was being hired by an organization on the same level, and therefore, that particular individual who was being hired after, which is Mr. Raghav, was being paid more than what she was being paid, because, and though she had more experience than Mr. Raghav, but since then also he was being paid more than Miss Preeti. Now, because of that particular factor, what happened? The commitment towards the job, commitment towards the organization felt down, because she thought that despite she had so many years and of work, and she had more experience than what Mr. Raghav had, her declination towards the commitment and the dedication, lowered down, which obviously affected the organization as well. क्योंकि अगर when your commitment towards work lowers down, it lowers down the productivity of an organization as well. And due to that decrease in commitment, what happened was the productivity declined as well. Because she's saying that she perceived it as an inequality, that was being done, because again, if you talk about Indian society, it's about male dominating society, that for example, because Mr. Raghav was being employed in the company, and he was being paid much than what Miss Preeti was getting, and therefore it affected Miss Preeti as a whole. Now, what is happening over here is the commitment factor comes in, which is very important. That because of certain factors, because her commitment towards work, her commitment towards organization started declining. Now, when you go into the case studies, obviously you need to look into these factors. Now, when organizations hire people, on various posts, on various jobs. They look into the psychological factors. Now, this psychological, now, for example, now if we talk about personality, there are people who are hardy personality people, and they don't think so much. Now people who are very soft with personality, who are very who are not hardy people, who are non-hardy personality people, they take all things into them, and therefore they start seeing themselves, and inferiority complex starts coming up. Now, what we think is that same thing happened with Miss Preeti, where she being a non-hardy personality person, employee of an organization, she had all those things coming up, popping in up, that yes, because of the lesser experience, and because of the lesser experience, Mr. Raghav was being paid more than what she was being paid. So what happened was, now what we need to look over here is that Miss Preeti, did she being reacting similar way in her rest of the life, or did it just happen when she start working? So looking into the case studies, what we do is we approach, we go into the school level of Preeti, we go into the college level of Miss Preeti, we go on to the then we go on to the different job profile she was working before she started working over here, to see that did she reacted ever before, and what was the problem that her personality characteristics boom up in such a way that yes, it lower down her performance, and lower down her commitment towards work. Now, before jumping onto the case studies that you would be writing upon, you need to define these variables as well. What is job performance? What is job commitment? What is organizational commitment? What is work commitment? What is employee commitment? Because there's a difference when you say employee commitment, and there's a difference when you say job commitment. Employee commitment is a commitment of an employee itself, but when we say job commitment, it is a commitment of an employee towards their job, towards their organization. So we need to define these variables as well before we jump into the case study straight away. Because when we write reports, we do define these variables so that to make understand to the people who are reading those reports. So this is how the report would be written. This is how the things need to be written upon. जहाँ पर you would be looking into the various case studies, that what are the factors that influence the commitment level of employees. ऐसे कौन कौन से कारण हैं, ऐसे कौन कौन से रीजंस हैं जिसके कारण जो है जो कमिटमेंट है वो एम्प्लॉयज की कम होती है, प्रोडक्टिविटी जो है वो उससे कितना इन्फ्लुएंस करती है. यू विल बी putting more efforts while writing onto the productivity level. That relationship between the commitment and the productivity, and you would find various reasons for that. You would find many studies for that as well, that when the commitment of an organization lowers down, it lowers down the productivity of the organization as well. So you need to put those as well as a reference to your case study, so that whatever you're writing, whatever you are giving demonstrations, or whatever examples or whatever reasons you are giving, it should illustrated with the already researches that has been done in the on the same variables, so that whatever you writing has a review of literature, for everything that you are quoting in, for everything that you are putting in. As you've been doing other practicals last May, when you write the discussion, you write the supportive studies. So same goes over here as well. The factors that you're writing should have a supportive background, so that the factors that we looking into these through this case study can be approached through various researches that has already been conducted. Now, it says that due to her decrease in the dedication and the commitment, in the company had to suffer its service and productivity. Now, what are the factors that actually increases the possibility or probability of one employee being affected, and how does it affect the company as well, how did it affect the productivity of the company as well. So which means that an employee is such a important construct of an organization, that an employee can actually boost up the productivity level of an employee. So you need to also look into the various strategies that organizations should come up with, so that the employees commitment and employees satisfaction at the job can be looked upon, and therefore it should not be lowered down. There are so many strategies that can be, for example, paying the employees equally onto the equal. If there are three employees who are working at the equal level, they should be paid equally, they should be distributed equal hours. They should be given equal salaries if they are working at the similar on the similar level. So because these are the psychological factors which do affect, it does affect the thought process of an employee. If we took it on us as well, if we have employees, if we have colleagues who are working at the same level, doing the same job that we are doing, and they get more than what we do, then it does affect our thought process, it does affect our cognition. And in psychology, it's all about the thought process, it's all about the cognition that takes place because of certain factors. So you need to look into all those things, while writing for the case study. So what I said was that yes, first of all, you need to define these variables, all the variables, for example, job commitment, job performance, then the production, the productivity, the job productivity, employee productivity, organizational productivity, and then you go onto the case study, that this is a case study and this is what could happen with the employee. And because of these factors, the employees satisfaction, the employees commitment, the dedication towards organization lower down, and it does affect the productivity of the organization as a whole. So this is about the case study today that we had. And the case study that is being quoted over here, it's a hypothetical case. A hypothetical case means that it's just an assumption that could happen, looking into the original perspective, that this can actually happen in an organization where the discrimination, where the inequality can actually happen with employees who are working at the same level. One is being paid less, though the person has more experience, has worked more than the person who has just popped in an organization, has just started working in foreign organizations. um, any questions, please?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah, please, ma'am. Sure.
Sir, after the case study, we are given two questions. One is that we have to outline the theory of motivation that deals with this social comparison that we can do.
Yeah.
And the second
Yeah.
is what are the remedies that we would suggest to motivate Miss Preeti. So
Yes.
we,
Yeah.
the that you explained, we actually targeted the problem, that what was the problem, but what is the solution to that?
Ma'am, there are different strategies. If you go on to the first year, there are motivational theories. There's a theory by Maslow. There's a theory, where he has talked about how the person grows as upon the hierarchy. For example, going on to from physiological growth to the self-actualization. So you need to quote those theories into it, so that the factors like commitment, the factors like productivity of employee, of organization can be sustained to a larger level. जहाँ पर मैस्लो ने, if you remember, in first year मैस्लो की जो theory थी, hierarchy की theory थी, need theory थी, where as individual grows, the needs arises as well. So as we say over here with an example, that yes, Miss Preeti because she had experience, her need, her satisfaction, her need arised because of the factor that yes, Mr. Raghav, who was being hired by an organization, who was being hired at the same level but was being paid more. So you can put the theory that yes, because of those factors, Miss Preeti's concerned was perfect, because again, because she has seen that yes, she's been working harder than what Mr. Raghav been doing, and though she was being paid less than what Mr. Raghav was being paid, तो हमारी commitment, yes, it would deteriorate, it would decrease at certain level. Is that clear, ma'am?
Sir, we studied five more theories this year in the theories
Ma'am,
of
there is a
motivation.
McClelland theory as well.
Yes, sir. Herzberg's
Um,
theory and job
हाँ,
characteristics model, Bloom's
yes,
acceptance theory.
yes.
So
जॉब
they are given
जॉब जॉब परफॉर्मेंस की जो कौन सा आप कह रहे हैं मैम, थ्योरी जॉब.
job characteristics model.
हाँ, जॉब करेक्टरिस्टिक. नाउ फॉर एग्जांपल जॉब करेक्टरिस्टिक्स के अंदर क्या होगा, माय रोल और माय हाउ माय रिलेशन विद माय सबऑर्डिनेट्स, विद माय बॉस, विद माय colleagues is, job characteristics plays very important role. For example, if I am been working for 8 hours and my colleague is working for 6 hours and she's being paid more than what I am being paid, so job characteristic just plays an important role. जब मैंने when I said that yes, you need to write down the factors that influence the commitment, ऐसे कौन से factors होते हैं, so job characteristics would play an important role over there. That is the reason I said you need to write down those reasons as well, because sometimes job characteristics, the environment, the physical environment of organization sometimes does plays an important role, which is actually not influencing the case study, but yes, you can always quote down those reasons as well.
Sir, but we are still giving the reasons as to why she is behaving in the way that she is. Like, what is the solution to this? जैसे जो inequality है, do we eliminate that inequality, or do we ask Miss Preeti to modify her thought
Ma'am,
process in
see,
the way?
I'll tell you what happens when you do a counseling. um, कभी कभार what happens is, not कभी कभार but हमेशा ये होता है कि अगर प्रॉब्लम हमारी है, हमारे साथ है, the solutions are also lying with us, but it's just हमें we need someone to help us, we need someone to guide us. Now what happens as a clinic, as an organizational psychologist, your main thing is, okay, this is a problem, look Preeti, this is a problem. If you think that yes, this is wrong, what do you think you can do for this? What do you think can be an option? Sometimes what happens is just talking, जैसे टॉक थेरेपी है, अगर आप साइकोएनालिसिस के अंदर फ्रॉइड ने बात की हुई है, समटाइम्स व्हाट हैपेंस इज दिस पर्टिकुलर थिंग हेल्प अस. जब आप थेरेप्यूटिक अप्रोचेस देते हो, जब आप थेरेपीज देते हो, देयर आर सर्टेन थेरेपीज दैट यू कैन कोट ओवर हियर. फॉर एग्जांपल, CBT, कॉग्निटिव बिहेवियर थेरेपी, जहां पर आप कॉग्निशन को, थॉट प्रोसेस को चेंज करने की कोशिश करते हो. Behavior therapy, you can quote over here. Talk therapy is one that you can quote over here. Meditation is one that you can quote over here. So these are the therapeutic approaches that you can quote over here.
All right, sir.
So these are different therapies. Again, going on to what you had in first year, what you have been doing in second year. जैसे आप theories की बात करते हो. Sometimes what Bandura has talked about social learning के अंदर, कि हम imitate करने की कोशिश करते हैं, लोगों को copy करने की कोशिश करते हैं. If you remember what Bandura has talked about in social learning, we are conditioned because of the social environment we are into. हम लोगों को देखकर भी कभी कभार चीजों को कॉपी करने की, चीजों को, हालांकि the factor that has been talked in the case study is a relevant topic, but still, we being social animals, yes, we are conditioned to what we observe, we are conditioned to what we see around us. Am I clear, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
हाँ जी, any other question? So you need to write down all the practicals into one thing, and you need to make one practical file where your all practicals would come in. For example, this is your fifth practical, which is your case study. So you need to put down all the practicals into one file, um, which will be won't be different files. It will be one file. Into one file, there are going to be all the five practicals. So case study is again, yes, when you write a case study, also you need to define what a case study, you need to define what is case method, you need to define a few definitions of case studies if you can. Then you go on to the factors that influence, then you jump into the variables that is being quoted in the case study. Is that right to all? Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Hanji. Any other question from anyone?
Good afternoon, sir.
Hanji, good afternoon.
Sir, I was not able to attend last class, so I request you to upload that on IGNU page.
Sure, that would have been done. That would have been done, sir.
No,
It
sir,
should
I
be
was
there.
not able to found.
Okay, okay, okay. Um, okay, I would request for that.
Yes, thank you.
Was it clear whatever is done today?
Yes, sir.
All right, all right. Any other query? Any other question?
No, sir.
No. Okay. Tejpal sir, I'm done with the class. I'm done with the practical today. Tejpal sir.
सर नमस्कार.
हाँ जी सर, गुड आफ्टरनून सर. अभी देयर इज अ इग्नू लर्नर अभिषेक, वो ये कह रहे हैं कि लास्ट लेक्चर अपलोड नहीं हुआ था, तो उनका ये कहना है.
सभी लेक्चर अपलोड है.
हाँ जी. अभिषेक सर, एक और आप दोबारा देख लें.
Okay, sir. I will check it out once again.
हाँ जी.
एक इनको जरूर ये बोलते हैं सर, विवेक जी,
हाँ जी सर.
वर्ड फाइल बनानी है, हैंड रिटन कुछ नहीं सबमिट करना इन लोगों ने.
हाँ, इट हैज टू बी वर्ड फाइल and make sure that every one of you write in your own words. It should not be copied straight away. You read through the things and then you write in your own words. And also very important, the references has to be quoted at the end as well. Is that right, Roshan sir?
यस यस यस.
Right, right. Sir, I'm done with the class.
यस यस. गुड.
हाँ जी, हाँ जी, हाँ
ये
जी.
नो क्वेरी.
हाँ जी सर.
थैंक यू
नो
सर. थैंक
क्वेरी.
यू. थैंक यू
Thank you.
डॉक्टर.
Thank you,
आप
ओके
मेरे
जी.
हिसाब से
Thank you, Roshan sir.
ओके जी.
कोई
बाय
क्वेरी
बाय.
हो तो अभी भी पूछ सकते हैं. कोई बच्चा अगर किसी की क्वेरी है तो बात कर सकते हैं, नहीं तो फिर आज की जो कक्षा है उसका समापन किया जा रहा है.
कल कल डाउट सेशन है, उसमें हम सब होंगे.
बिल्कुल.
Right,
और
ठीक
sir.
है
अपने
डॉक्टर
जो
साहब.
जो जो जिसके जो डाउट है कल फाइनल कर लेना अपने. और कल विल बी द टुमारो विल बी द लास्ट क्लास फॉर डाउट.
Okay, sir.
ओके जी.
Okay.
थैंक यू
Thank you,
सर
sir.
तेजपाल जी.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर
ओके
साहब.
विवेक भाई, थैंक यू.
Thank
थैंक
you,
यू.
Roshan sir. Thank you, Tejpal sir.
ओके जी, थैंक यू.
ओके.
बाय बाय.
थैंक यू.
Bye, bye.